Hi, and happy World Wetlands Day from the River Institute. We thought we'd bring you along in one of our local wetlands to show you all the really cool things that you can still see even during the winter time. Wetlands are a really great place to see lots of bird species, native and migratory birds in the summertime you can see in a wetland. And today we've got a few black-capped chickadees that are joining us. And if you bring a bit of bird seed, you might be able to attract a few of them to your hand. Let's see if we can get one up close. So one thing that you can do in your local wetland or even any local park or forest that you have near your home is look for tracks in the snow. So this is a cool way in the winter that you can identify animals that are around you even without having seen the animal themselves. And so you can see that these tracks are spaced kind of farther apart. Usually when you see that, it means the animal was hopping pretty quickly. And another indication of hopping is kind of when the track has front feet in front of the back feet, kind of like this one. If something was running or trotting along kind of quickly, they'd be a little bit more staggered than this, rather having all the prints right together. And so this is from a little squirrel that ran by. So we're gonna go head over to the west side of the marsh to see our biologist Emily DeRushy and her dad Steve DeRushy, who's a local trapper, and they're gonna tell us a little bit about beavers in the wintertime.
Hi everyone, so my name is Emily DeRushy and I am an educator and research assistant at the River Institute. Today we are at the beautiful Cooper Marsh. It is a nice warm sunny day and we're going to explore the west marsh of Cooper Marsh, which is actually called Schlottenberg Marsh. And we're also going to visit with a licensed trapper from South Glengarry named Steve DeRushy. There's a beaver lodge right up there. You can tell that it's active because there's action from other animals around. So there's tracks, there's animals that maybe went up there and went to the bathroom on it. So here we have a beaver dam. The difference between a beaver dam and a beaver lodge, they're often mistaken for one another, is that a dam stops the flow of water, whereas a beaver lodge is where the beavers live. Here there's some little slides which leads me to believe that there was probably some otters hanging around, and there's some scat over here, likely from our otter friends. Otters like to eat anything from fish to clams, even some vegetation. We often don't see them, but they're definitely around. So. Okay, so in a general scope, why is trapping important for conservation?
If you keep them trapped at a certain level, their populations won't have a tendency to go like this so much. It'll be more because you're trapping them. They have a good food source all the time. You know, the cycle of biology goes where everything booms, it all busts and all falls down, and it goes way down, it comes back up. That's usually the way a lot of things are. Rabbits and partridge are like that, and by trapping a lot of animals, it keeps them more at an even keel all the time. They're healthier, and they're healthier when you do that. You try not to let them get too overpopulated so that they don't become a nuisance to people. Beavers continuously have to be thinned out. It really depends on where they are. If they're not going to be a problem immediately, we'll maybe leave them there. If it's a really big house, you can take out. Some houses get a lot bigger than that. If you figure there might be eight or 10 of them in there, take out 2 or 3. And then that way, because if you don't, they're just going to spread. Every spring, all the babies, all the 2-year-olds leave and move and go somewhere else. And because they're finding new territory, and they'll just keep spreading and spreading and spreading. And they will create problems pretty much wherever there's human beings. Human beings is the problem, not the beavers.
We're here at the trailhead for the Gary Fen Trail on Lakeshore Road, and we're gonna go and hear from Dr. Brian Hickey about some plants that you can see in the fen during the winter time.
All right, so we're here at Gary Fen. Bogs and fens are two of my favorite kinds of wetlands. They have such different and interesting plant life. I spend most of my time focusing on animals, but when at a bog or a fen, it's really the plants that excite me. A lot of people use the word bog and swamp and marsh interchangeably, but bogs are wetlands that are dominated by peat moss. And fens are similar. They're a little less dominated by peat moss, but you do get peat moss here. And the plant communities of bogs and fens are very similar. They differ in their chemistry and their geology a little bit. Bogs are a little bit more acidic and a little bit lower in nutrient, but they're full of really cool plants like Labrador tea and bog rosemary. And although we won't be able to see these this time of year, there's several different species of orchids. Some of the most beautiful Ontario flowers live here. And one of my favorite plants, which you can sometimes find in the winter if the snow is not too deep, is the pitcher plant. That's one of 3 carnivorous plants. There are 3 groups of plants in Ontario that eat animals. Now that sounds a little bit scary. They eat very tiny animals, fortunately, like tiny insects and other invertebrates. There's pitcher plant, and the other 2 are sundew and bladderwort. You get both pitcher plant and sundew here in the summertime. We'll have to wait until the snow melts to have a better look at those species.
The River Institute loves doing research on wetland and sharing our research with community members like yourselves. Let us know what your favorite local wetland is down in the comments below.